Hey there, my wedding planning friends, and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, thanks so much for clicking on my video. I'm Emily Summer. I'm a wedding planner based in Montana, and I make weekly videos on wedding planning tips and advice. So we've seen a large increase of micro weddings over the last couple of years, and a lot of this is due to the nature of the world over the last couple of years and the event industry and wedding industry as a whole. However, many couples are seeing the benefit in having smaller weddings, making me think that this micro wedding trend isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Now, the term micro wedding basically just means a smaller version of a normal traditional wedding. Everything essentially stays the same as far as the traditions. You still have a ceremony, you still have your typical reception activities, first dance, all of that sort of thing, just on a much smaller scale. Typically, anything less than 75 people or so is considered a micro wedding. So maybe you're thinking about having a micro wedding or wondering if you should move to a micro wedding, or just curious about what a micro wedding even is and the benefits about it. Whether you're debating having a micro wedding by choice or by necessity, here are some questions you can ask yourself that might help make that decision a little easier for you. Number one, do you get overwhelmed in social settings? A lot of my couples that opt to have smaller weddings choose this option so that there aren't so many people they have to interact with on their wedding day. They're not going to be hundreds of people they have to touch base with and have conversations with and have eyes on them during the ceremony and the reception. And it's just a little bit more calm and relaxed environment, especially for individuals that get a little bit anxious in social settings that involve a lot of people. Number two, do you hate being the center of attention? On your wedding day, you are 100% going to be the center of attention. And for things like your first dance, your ceremony, and your vows, and having to speak out loud in front of other people can sometimes be very nerve-wracking, especially if you're somebody that gets stage fright or you don't like to be the center of attention. This is something to consider if you're debating having a large wedding or a micro wedding. If you're not somebody that likes to have all eyes on you all night long, having a smaller group and more of a micro wedding is probably a good option for you. Number three, do you and your partner have large families? So obviously a big deciding factor of whether you're going to have a micro wedding or not is how many people can you feasibly invite or not invite to your wedding. If you're somebody that has a very large family and your partner has a very large family, it's going to be hard to just invite a small portion of those people without kind of ruffling any feathers or hurting anyone's feelings or anything like that. So if you have a large guest list that is really hard to cut back, then a micro wedding is probably not for you. Number four, are you on a tight budget? Are you trying to save as much money as humanly possible on your wedding? When it comes to budgeting for your wedding, a lot of the cost for your wedding directly corresponds to the amount of guests you're going to have. Your food costs, your beverage costs, your rentals costs, your decor costs, pretty much anything that isn't a service like your photographer, your DJ, and a coordinator. Typically those things are going to cost the same amount regardless of how many people you have there. However, things that directly relate to the amount of people, like how much food to serve, how much alcohol to serve, the amount of place settings you need, the amount of chairs you need, all of those sort of things directly relate to the amount of people that you have. So the smaller the wedding, the smaller those costs. Number five, do you want to be able to connect with every single guest at your wedding? When you have a large wedding, over 100 people, it's really hard to actually connect with and have a conversation with every single guest at your wedding. If you're inviting a lot of people that you haven't seen in a while, you don't see on a regular basis, you're probably going to want to be able to interact with them and at least acknowledge that they were there on your day. I have a lot of couples that at the end of the night won't even realize, a handful of people were even there, or they saw them and just never got a chance to actually connect and communicate with them. If you're somebody that wants to be able to interact with every single guest at your wedding, a micro wedding is a great option for this. The smaller amount of people there create a much more intimate setting, allowing you the opportunity to actually connect and have conversations with all of the guests at your wedding. Weddings don't always have to be some big extravagant event, and if you're somebody that likes a little bit more of a laid-back, calm environment and you're trying to save a little bit of money on your wedding, a micro wedding might be a great option for you. While they've become a lot more popular in the last couple of years due to reasons out of our control, I love a good micro wedding, I love a good intimate wedding, and I'm hoping to continue to see micro weddings down the road. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe to get weekly videos on wedding planning tips and advice, and we'll see you next week.